Hello and welcome back to another Football Commentaries live stream. It is the final game week of the Champions League phase, and there is still lots to play for when teams are looking to finish in the top 8 of the table. For Manchester City, the task of finishing in the top 8 has become much harder after their shock 3-1 defeat to Bodo Glimt last week. There are 8 teams who are all on 13 points from the Blues, including the Blues, as the teams on 13 points go from 6th all the way down to 13th, meaning results will have to go in City's favour to avoid the playoffs for a second successive season. Back-to-back Turkish champions Galatasaray are the team in town tonight. The Lions cannot make the top 8, but will more than likely not drop out of the top 24 as their goal difference is superior to the teams below. For Galatasaray, they have had an up and down Champions League campaign. Lost their first game away to Frankfurt by 5-1, but then after that went on a 3-game winning run, which included a home win to Liverpool. But without a win in their last 3 in this competition has left them just out of reach for the top 8. This is the very first meeting between the two clubs, but City's first ever European game in their history was against a Turkish team in Fenerbahce. And Galatasaray's UEFA Cup victory in 2000 came against an English side, and that was Arsenal. With 3 points up for grabs, can Man City give themselves a chance of finishing in the top 8, or will Galatasaray spoil the fun and win in Manchester for only the second time in their history? For Manchester City, they are giving themselves hard work to do once again in the Champions League. They did it last season as well. They finished poor in the league phase. Their whole league phase was very poor. It was kind of well within that run of games where Manchester City really dropped off last season, and they had to go through the playoffs when they drew Real Madrid and then were knocked out. And it looks like again this season they're going to have to go through the playoff phase of the competition. They sit in 11th as it stands on 13 points, but like I say, from 6th to 13th, they're all on 13 points, so it's going to be based on goal difference, goals scored, who wins where. So we'll keep track of all the games around the ground because there is 17 other games that are all going to be being played at 8 o'clock. So for Manchester City, all they can do is win and just hope that other teams around them either fail to win or just don't score as many goals. It's going to be difficult for them, but it is Galatasaray who are in their way, who they are in 17th in the league phase table on 10 points, just a win less than Manchester City. But they've had some memorable games in this league phase. As mentioned in game week 2, they beat Liverpool by 1-0, an Osimhen penalty in the 16th minute gave them the win in that game. They also beat Bodo Glimt 3-1 themselves at home, and then also went to Ajax and won 3-0 with an Osimhen hat-trick, all in the second half, and that was his second hat-trick for the club. It's definitely not an easy fixture tonight for Manchester City. Galatasaray have got a lot of very talented players, a couple of them that Manchester City will be more than aware of. Leroy Sané returning to the club, and İlkay Gundogan also returning to the club for the first time since he has left for the second time in the summer to join Galatasaray. During his time at the club, scored 65 goals. İlkay Gundogan captained them to the Champions League in 2023. Now he'll be looking to try and haunt them, if possible, with Galatasaray for the away side. More than likely, nothing will change, as mentioned in the pre-match build-up there. Can't get in the top 8, but won't drop out of the top 24, so they're pretty much guaranteed a playoff position for Galatasaray, which I think is definitely a success for them to get into the knockout stages, because last season they lost in the qualifying stage of the Champions League, losing 4-2 to Young Boys on aggregate, and then in the Europa League they were knocked out in the playoff stage of that to AZ Alkmaar 6-3 on aggregate. So certainly a big improvement this season for Galatasaray in the Champions League, under intense pressure, because that's what it will be over in Turkey, because at the minute Galatasaray are the main team on top at the moment, winning the last 3 league titles in a row. But in Europe, in recent history anyway, it's certainly where they have fell short, because last season was obviously, losing out in the qualifying stage. The season before that, they were knocked out in the group stage. Season before that, they didn't even get into any European competition due to how low they finished in the league table. But they have risen and have stayed at the top of Turkish football since the arrival of Erkan Buruk, their manager, the 52-year-old, born in Istanbul. His contract does expire at the end of this season, but he's come in. He's won 3 league titles with Galatasaray. He's won a cup and a Super Cup as well. And there is a huge task for them tonight, travelling to the Etihad to take on Manchester City, as we are waiting for the officials to lead out the two teams. The referee tonight will be Spaniard Alejandro Hernandez, the 43-year-old Spanish referee who has been FIFA listed now since 2014. It will be Bernardo Silva who will be leading Manchester City out as club captain, and for tonight it will be İlkay Gundogan leading out Galatasaray. It must be a weird feeling for İlkay Gundogan to be leading out an opposition team at this place so soon after leaving for a second time. That is a huge night once again for Manchester City in Europe. Not for the right reasons. They are trying to scrape themselves into a top 8 position, something that they would have wanted boxed off and done with last week when they played Bodo Glimt. Simple as that. Really poor result, giving Bodo Glimt their first ever Champions League victory. But they'll know what job they've got to do tonight. And they've gone pretty strong. They've changed a couple of players from their lineup at the weekend against Wolves. We are going to go through both sets of starting 11s now. We'll start with Manchester City, and it will be Gianluigi Donnarumma to remain in goal. He won the Champions League last season with PSG. The back four, Mateus Nunes, making his 100th appearance for the club, will play alongside Abdul Kadir Kusanov, Nathan Ake and Ryan Aït-Nouri as the back four. 2 central midfielders will be Nico O'Reilly, inverting into a more central midfield position for today, and he'll play alongside Bernardo Silva, who did not feature in their last game against Bodo Glimt due to a yellow card suspension. 3 behind the striker on the right-hand side will be Ryan Cherki, who's got the 2 Champions League goals so far this season. He got the 1 against Bodo Glimt in the last game week. On the left-hand side will be Jeremy Doku, who's got the 1 goal so far in this season's Champions League, and that was in game week 1 to Napoli. And behind the striker will be Omar Marmoush, who scored on his return at the weekend against Wolverhampton Wanderers. And through the middle, their number 9, leading the line, will be Erling Haaland, who's only scored 1 in his last 6 in the Premier League, and that was against Brighton 3 weeks ago. But in the Champions League, he has got 6 in 7, just failing to score against Bodo Glimt and Bayer Leverkusen in Manchester City's 2 defeats this season in the Champions League. For Galatasaray, they make 3 changes from their last lineup in the Champions League against Atletico Madrid when they drew 1-1 at home after a Simeone opener, but then a Llorente own goal. Is Uçan Çekuş to start in goal, their number 1, brought in for €27.5 million from Trabzonspor in the summer. A back 4 at right back will be Roland Shalai, the Hungarian. On the left-hand side will be Ismail Jakobs, who they brought in on a permanent deal after spending last season on loan, and that is from Monaco. And 2 centre-halves, one of Davinson Sanchez, who's taken on Manchester City for the 11th time in his career. He's only ever won once here, and that was as he came on as a late sub in a 3-2 win for Spurs back in February 2022. And alongside him will be Abdul Karim Bardakça, who has only missed minutes in 1 Champions League game so far this season, and that was in the opener against Frankfurt when they were beaten by 5-1. To all the midfielders, the captain İlkay Gundogan, who was brought in on a free from Manchester City in the summer. He's yet to score so far in this season's Champions League. Alongside him will be Mario Lemina, who was just returning from the Africa Cup of Nations with Gabon when they had a spectacular failure, and the Gabon government have actually suspended their team after their disgraceful performance, which meant they lost 3 out of the 3 group stage games. Behind their striker will be a right winger of Leroy Sané, who spent 4 years at the club, scoring 39 goals. On the left will be Barış Alper Yilmaz, who has not scored yet in the Champions League, but does have 7 in all of the competitions. Playing in behind the striker will be Gabriel Sara, who they brought in last season from Norwich. Again, yet to score in the Champions League. And through the middle, their main man, brought in for €75 million in the summer from Napoli. It's Victor Osimhen, who's got 6 in 5 Champions League appearances. As we are just going to wait for the referee's whistle here, it'll be Galatasaray kicking right to left. It'll be Manchester City left to right to begin this first 45 minutes at the Etihad Stadium. It's the long ball forward, headed away in the 18-yard box by Ake, held back forward by Gundogan, header away by Bernardo Silva. It's now Bardaccia, the centre-back, bringing it forward, playing out wide to Shalai, who tries to go in behind, cleared away by Kusanov. Rather rushed clearance from the Uzbekistan international, but it does drop to a Manchester City shirt. And it's now Núñez at right back, wanting to try and go backwards. Feeds it inside instead to Bernardo Silva within the Manchester City half on the right-hand side, skipping past one and then being tripped by Gundogan. And that will be a free kick for Manchester City, 40 seconds in. And it is Manchester City who will be wanting to have a lot of the possession if possible. Were unbeaten in their first 4 Champions League games this season. City beating the likes of Napoli, Villarreal and Dortmund with a draw away at Monaco in between all of that. And it was a rather frustrating draw to Monaco in game week 2 because they were leading twice in that, as Haaland scored both, but were pegged back both times, with the final equaliser coming from the penalty spot through Eric Dyer. And then these 2 defeats in their last 3 have been just a really poor showing from Manchester City, because it's quite funny, they were beaten by Leverkusen and then went to the Bernabeu to play Real Madrid and then beat them 2-1, and then they go away to Bodo Glimt and get beat 3-1. It's a little bit of a bipolar-like campaign for Manchester City. Ake sends it over the top down the left, looking for the run of Marmoush, couldn't quite control it. It's eventually cleared by Čekuš, the Galatasaray number 1. It's headed away on the halfway line by Ake, put to the ground by Gundogan to Jakobs, who loses it to Cherki. On this right-hand side, he's got Bernardo Silva overlapping, tries to feed it through for Haaland instead. There's a nick, and it drops to Marmoush, who flicks it into Haaland, but the flag goes up, and it'll be a free kick on the edge of the box for Galatasaray. Won the Turkish league last season to make it 3 in a row. Of course, Manchester City in recent times won 4 in a row. That run was ended last season as Manchester City finished 3rd, and they were 13 points off the eventual winners Liverpool. As we're yet to have a shot on goal yet, as there is Erkan Budak, the Galatasaray manager, taking charge of his 20th Champions League game proper. Has also took charge of 10 Champions League games within qualifying. As it's Donnarumma to roll it into the edge of the box for O'Reilly to spring forward with the ball. He's got a pass out to the left and he'll find Aït-Nouri. Had a bit of a frustrating start to his time as a Manchester City player. He crosses it early. It's a great ball for Haaland! And he's got to score. Heads it wide of the left-hand post. It's a peach of a ball by Ryan Aït-Nouri, showing exactly what he can do from that left flank. Showing his traits of what he did whilst he was at Wolves. Curling in a perfectly weighted ball for Haaland to run onto and just guide the header towards the bottom left corner. It's an inch wide. He'll be massively frustrated with himself there, Erling Haaland. He usually puts them home without any stress, but that one's gone wide. And 3.5 minutes in at the Etihad, it is Manchester City 0, Galatasaray 0. Erling Haaland with a huge chance, trying to score his 27th goal this season for Manchester City. If he scores within the first half tonight, his 56 Champions League goals he would have scored will be equally split. He's currently scored 27 Champions League goals in the first half, and 28 of them in the second half. So if he scores in the first 45 tonight, that equals that up at 28 each. Galatasaray have won themselves a free kick on the far side here in the final third. So a chance to get a cross into the box just over 4 minutes in, try and get their first shot on goal, try and test the gloves of Donnarumma as the ball goes into the near post. Header won by Núñez and it goes behind for a corner. Not taking any risks there, the Manchester City number 27, who's making his 25th Champions League appearance of his career. He's also just one away from 100 in the Premier League, which he might pick up at the weekend against Spurs. It's an in-swinging ball in by Sarah towards the far post. It's a header won by O'Reilly. Drops to the edge of the area to Cherky on this Manchester City near side. Trying to play it forward quickly to the on-rushing Marmoush. It went in behind, but the goalkeeper's well out of his box to clear it. Well read there by Uchan Chekush. And it's now in a left-back position for Manchester City with Ryan Aït-Nouri. Just making his 12th appearance of the season for Manchester City. Started the first 3 games in the Premier League, picked up an injury. And then as he was returning, O'Reilly was in the form of his life at left-back, so had to wait for minutes. And then when minutes seemed like they would have opened up for him because O'Reilly was so tired, he was then picked to go and play for Algeria in the Africa Cup of Nations. So a few factors out of his control for Ryan Aït-Nouri meant he's just had a bit of a slow start to his City career as Bernardo Silva pings the ball out of play, looking for Núñez on the near side. And it's a throw-in for Galatasaray. Midway inside their own half. It's a huge chance that for Erling Haaland to score that header. Quickest and youngest player to score 40 Champions League goals. Completed that achievement at the age of 23 years and 130 days. He's currently already on 55 Champions League goals now. There's Shalai. Just slides through Marmoush without playing the ball. And we're going to get a Manchester City free kick this time on their left-hand side. We're looking to try and make an impact in this one. Omar Marmoush, just like he did at the weekend in the 2-0 win against Wolves. City already get the ball moving. Bernardo Silva, their captain, to Aït-Nouri. Back forward through for the run of Bernardo Silva towards the corner flag. He goes back into Doku, who's not really had any chance to get on the ball in the early exchanges. Tackled by Sarah. Be a throw-in for City, taken quickly by Bernardo Silva, facing his own goal as he's been forced backwards through the Galatasaray press. He plays it to the number 6, Nathan Ake. Just the one Champions League goal in his career, and that was in 2021 in a home win against RB Leipzig. He's got 10 Manchester City goals in his career. Nathan Ake is always a threat when he goes forward for set pieces, even though he's not the tallest defender. For over 7 minutes in here, still 0-0. City with the biggest chance through Erling Haaland. O'Reilly tries to send it over the top for Erling Haaland, and it works. Chests it down to Cherky, down the centre of the pitch. Plays it to the left to Haaland. He's back to goal on the edge of the area. Finds Doku. Back through towards Haaland. Cut out by Sanchez. Clipped forward towards Osimhen. Header won by Ake in the centre circle, and it'll be Manchester City to go again. They'll want an early goal if possible. On the far side, it's Aït-Nouri. Everything to his right. With Bernardo Silva. Kusanov making himself an option to his right. Keeps it down the left side though with O'Reilly. Bernardo Silva on the ball. Researching Manchester City's previous runs in this competition, and funnily enough, the last 3 times they've been knocked out with this competition, it's been to Real Madrid. Last season in the playoffs, the season before that was the quarter-final. The season before that they won the competition, and the season before that they got knocked out by them in the semi-final stage. So at some point within the competition, it does seem like Manchester City do come up against the most successful team in the competition. Galatasaray try to poke the ball away. Lemina does find Osimhen, but Osimhen's ball goes straight to Cherky. And City try and go forward. It's Doku in a central position, try to turn away from his man, and he can't because he's been brought down illegally there by Davinson Sanchez. He's now made well over 100 appearances for Galatasaray, the former Spurs centre-back. Joined the club back in September 2023. Did stay touch tight to his man though there, Davinson Sanchez. As Galatasaray are 9 unbeaten in all competitions, a run that's been going since the middle of December. In the final third on the right-hand side, it's a Manchester City throw-in, taken by Núñez to Cherky. Curls a pass into the centre circle to Ake, forward to Doku, who's drifting inside to allow a little bit more room and space for Aït-Nouri, who's now got the ball one-on-one with Leroy Sané. Into O'Reilly. Everyone behind the ball bar Osimhen for Galatasaray, as Osimhen from behind has nicked it off Ake, and they'll look to try and spring forward with Leroy Sané releasing the ball behind him to Bardaccia. And it's now with Jakobs, the left-back, and he enters the Manchester City half. He's got Yilmaz with him. Decides to go back instead towards the halfway line to Lemina. the number 99. Plays it forward for Osimhen. Flag goes up. High line working successfully for Manchester City. I think Manchester City will be rather pleased they're not playing Galatasaray away from home. The last time Galatasaray lost a league game at home was in May 2024 as Erling Haaland's in behind and lifts it over the goalkeeper. And as we just tick over the 10th minute, it is Manchester City who take an early lead through their number 9. It's goal number 27 for the Blues in all competitions this season. And it felt inevitable as soon as he went in one-on-one with the goalkeeper. Manchester City are doing what they need to do to try and finish in the top 8. It was Doku again in the central area, picking up the ball in the centre circle, playing an early ball in behind. Caught Bardacha out. And as he entered the 18-yard box, the goalkeeper came out to close down the angle. But Manchester City's number 9 has been in that position so many times before. Goalkeeper went down early, allowed for the lifted finish, and into the back of the net it went. And the Etihad can breathe slightly as they go a goal to the good. It's Manchester City 1, Galatasaray 0. Very calm and composed. It's what we usually see with Erling Haaland. And with that, Manchester City do put themselves up to 6th. But of course, a lot of the games are still at 0-0 in their early parts. Erling Haaland now has 56 goals in 56 Champions League appearances. He's scored 28 of those goals in the first half and 28 of them in the second. He's got 2 hat-tricks in this competition. He'll be looking to make it a third tonight. Of course, if they go clear in this game, Pep Guardiola might look to try and rest Erling Haaland for a little bit, because they do have Tottenham coming up at the weekend on Sunday, but then they've also got Newcastle in the League Cup in the midweek as well. It's Galatasaray on the ball with Roland Shalai, the right back, in a right back position on the halfway line. He's now in the centre circle with Sanchez. He's got Haaland chasing him down, so has to go back to the goalkeeper of Czechus. Didn't quite start for Turkey in their European Championship run back in 2024. Does have 36 caps for his country. The Galatasaray number 1, who's 29 years of age, he sends a long ball forward straight into Donnarumma's hands, and it's Manchester City to build from the back. The last time Manchester City played here at home in the Champions League, it was that 2-0 defeat to Leverkusen on the 25th of November. The first half goal from Grimaldo and then the second half goal from Schick meant that they were on the back foot with trying to qualify in the top 8. But at the minute they're in it, might not be for long, as Aït-Nouri down the left channel for Marmoush. He's got behind the defence, has to check back and play it back into Aït-Nouri. Not many options in the box for a cross, so keeps it short to Doku. And then back into Nico O'Reilly. Forward to Jeremy Doku, turns forward, keeps it away from one Galatasaray player. Last touch comes off Jeremy Doku, according to the referee, and that'll be a goal kick. He disagrees. The Belgian, who has scored 5 in his last 7 for his country, Jeremy Doku. And yeah, I don't know how that's not a corner. He quite clearly kicks it off a Galatasaray player, but the referee didn't see it that way, and Manchester City will try and have to win the ball back as Bardacha at centre-back for Galatasaray finds Yilmaz, the left winger, who's barely got a touch of the ball, and that time it's Jakobs, the full-back, who gives it away to Bernardo Silva. And now, just inside their own half, it's their number 6, Nathan Ake, on the ball. And he has scored 10 City goals, as we've mentioned, and in the last 9 games he scored for Manchester City, they have won. The only time he has scored and they've not won was during the game where he scored his first goal, and that was in the 5-2 loss to Leicester back in September 2020 during the lockdown football. 14 and a half minutes in, it's Manchester City who lead in the 10th minute through Erling Haaland. Cherki through the centre, bursting forward. He's got Aït-Nouri to his left and he finds him. He's been a constant threat down that left flank in the early stages. finds the ball to Cherky. O'Reilly, back out wide to Doku. Set up almost in a 5-4-1 formation here. Galatasaray leaving Osimhen up in between the two centre-halves. Bernardo Silva lifting it to Cherky. It's now with Nori. Quick 1-2 with Ryan Cherky. They linked up for a very tidy goal in that League Cup semi-final. Cherky and Nori to give them a 2-goal advantage against Newcastle as Núñez has been fed down the right-hand side. Just about keeps it in. Gets the cross to the near post, cut out by Bardaccia as it was Marmoush coming in late to try and put him under some sort of pressure. Jakobs, the left-back for Galatasaray, finds Yilmaz. Tackled by Bernardo Silva. And midway inside their own half, that'll be a throw-in for Galatasaray. Galatasaray had not got out of the Champions League group stage in their last 5 attempts, dating all the way back to the 2014-2015 season. And the last time they reached the knockout stages, they were beaten 3-1 against Chelsea over 2 legs. That was in 2014. And it does look like they'll book themselves a spot in the playoffs, as they currently sit 19th at the moment, Galatasaray. They just need to stay in the top 24 as we're ticking into the 17th minute of the game. And it's still Manchester City 1, Galatasaray 0. They yet to test Donnarumma as Cherky gets it in between the lines for Núñez, who pushed forward from right back, well within the Galatasaray half. He's got options left and right. Goes to his left to Doku again through the middle, shoved off it easily by Sane. Good recovering tackle from the German. And they'll look to try and break themselves. Gabriel Sara on the right flank. Osimhen made a run in behind. He's now offside, so the Brazilian's just holding on to the ball and playing it back to the right back, Shalai, who's invited to join the attack. Short ball from Sara, but it's well won back by Shalai as Doku just tried to touch it past him. Sara, the former Norwich man, switching out to the left here to Ismail Jakobs. Goes inside to Gundogan, the captain for tonight for Galatasaray. Never actually lost against Manchester City in his career, Gundogan. Played them twice during his Dortmund days in the Champions League group stages in the 2012-2013 season. Won at the Signal Iduna Park, but drew away here at the Etihad back in October 2012. Jakobs, the fullback, looking for an early crossing towards Osimhen. Dealt with off the chest of Kusanov. Controlled by Cherky. Backheels it to Núñez at right back in the defensive third. Quick 1-2 with Bernardo Silva, still with Núñez, facing his own goal here, being closed down by Yilmaz. Turns forward, finds Cherky, kicks it off Yilmaz, and that'll be a throw-in for Manchester City in a right-back position as Ryan Cherky just tries to lift the home support. May be a little bit flat on this Wednesday night at the Etihad. Manchester City stay 6th at the moment with this lead that they've got. Núñez throws it towards Haaland, cut out by the head of Gundogan, headed inside by Lamina. He's been caught by O'Reilly. Referee plays advantage as they've worked a bit of space on the right-hand side with Shalai. Leroy Sane. Shalai's made a run forward. He's just strayed offside. Sane keeps it. Goes into the midfield now to Gundogan. Everyone behind the ball for City by Haaland. Sara, back out wide to Shalai, who will cross it in towards Osimhen. It's just flicked away from him off Kusanov. Does run through for Jakobs on this left-hand side. But an important touch there from Kusanov, who's now got defending to do against Sara. Tries to flick it in towards Yilmaz. Heads it to Jakobs. It's now Lamina. Kicks thin air. And Haaland takes it away, but then gives it away. But then wins it back off Gundogan. Now with Doku bursting forward past one, then pulled back by another of Mario Lamina, who will pick up a yellow card. And it'll be a Manchester City free kick. Mario Lamina, formerly of Wolves. Also played for the likes of Southampton and Fulham as well. He's only ever beaten Manchester City once in his career, Mario Lamina, in his previous 9 attempts, and that was with Wolves back in the 2023-2024 season. He's been beaten 5 times at the Etihad, Mario Lamina, by an aggregate score of 18-3. So not usually a big fan of coming here. Mario Lamina, as he concedes his 19th goal as a player at this stadium. Manchester City have it. Marmoush always looks lively when he picks up the ball, the Egyptian. Feel like something's always going to happen when he receives the ball. Manchester City's number 7. Finished 4th at the Africa Cup of Nations after their 3rd place playoff defeat to Nigeria. Just less than 20 minutes played. Still Manchester City 1, Galatasaray 0. Erling Haaland with the goal as we hit minute 10 in the game. So Riley tries to play through the gap for Doku, deflects to Bernardo Silva in the centre circle, and they can keep it shifting over to the right side now with Cherki. He's got Nunez on this near side, decides to go back to Bernardo Silva. Cherki once more, then inside to O'Reilly. He's got 2 England caps to his name. Played the full 90 minutes against Albania and Serbia in the previous international break in the November just gone. Cherki thought Nunez was making a run forward down the right-hand side. He hadn't. And the ball can be seen behind for a goal kick by Ismail Jakobs, the Senegalese left-back for Galatasaray. Played 105 minutes in the Africa Cup of Nations final. Jakobs, the full-back. His first ever experience of Champions League football. As there we can see in the crowd, we've got, looked like Antoine Semenyo was sat with Oscar Bob in a box, which is rather interesting because it looks like Oscar Bob is on his way out to Fulham. I've read for £27 million with a 20% sell-on clause. He sat alongside Antoine Semenyo, and then also more in the dugout with the other players who can't play tonight is Mark Gahey, brought in, of course, this month from Crystal Palace, made his debut in the weekend just gone against Wolves. Not signed up to play in this game. It's Marmoush. Just caught late there by Davies and Sanchez on the Manchester City left, and it will be a free kick, which they take short, but they have piled players towards the edge of the area, so they might want to try and work across if they can. Ryan Aït-Nouri fancied it, faked the first cross, takes on a second Galatasaray player, can't get past the third, kicked away by Shalai, touched inside by Sane to Gundogan, then a misplaced ball to Osimhen. Gives it back to Manchester City on the halfway line through Kusanov. As Manchester City slip to 7th in the table. Switch from Kusanov to Aït-Nouri. Brilliant ball. Controlled. Low ball into the edge of the box to Cherki. Back heels it into Doku. Trying to play it to the right side. Goes to Bernardo Silva. Running towards the edge of the box. Goes furthest right, and that's Nunez. Trying to take on his man of Yilmaz. Twisting and turning, eventually getting around him and putting a cross in that's deep. Haaland was at the back post, but not out of the area, and that's where the ball swung to. But it's kept alive by Aït-Nouri. 22.5 minutes in, still 1-0 at the Etihad. Doku on the edge of the area, right-footed, thought about the shot, goes for it. And nicks off a Galatasaray player, and that'll be a corner on the near side for the Blues. It's going to be an in-swinger from the left boot of Bernardo Silva. He's now made well over 100 Champions League appearances, scoring 18 goals, 15 of them for Manchester City. As the ball goes in towards the near post, it's a header and away by Gundogan. It's going to be recycled forward by Nunez. To Bernardo Silva, one-on-one with his former teammate Ilkay Gundogan, who's trying to play a ball into the middle, goes to O'Reilly, about 25 yards out, he's thinking about a shot and will go for it! Stings the fingers of the goalkeeper, Uchan Chekush, who sends it behind for another corner. Pretty central, the shot towards goal, but was hit with some power. A City from that corner have made a bit of a mess of it, really, and Bernardo Silva's shoved it up into the air, and Nunez has to head away on the halfway line. It's a massive mess. Eventually drops here for Gundogan for Galatasaray. Got Yilmaz making a run in behind. Nunez got the pace to get there and slides in brilliantly, times it to perfection. Haaland with the header backwards towards Nunez in the right back position. It gives it away. Sane into Sara in the box. The angle is tight. Tries to pull it across. Can't work its way to Sane. It's now Doku in a right wing position, being tracked by Sane. restarts and goes back to Mateus Nunes. And Manchester City, just a little bit of unnecessary pressure that they've just put on themselves. Of course, it's not all been Manchester City's way in the last couple of weeks, especially in the Premier League. Gundogan out to the far side to Shalai, who's midway inside the City half and goes for a ball in behind into the box for Osimhen. Flag stays down for now. Takes a bit of a pop shot and it's saved at the near post by Donnarumma. Flag never went up in the end as Donnarumma rolls it into Doku in a tight space surrounded by players, but with his quick feet and pace he got away from Gundogan but not away from Jakobs. Doku wanted the free kick, can't believe he's not got it. And it's going to be Galatasaray back in possession on the halfway line, with Davinson Sanchez, the Colombian, playing it to his left to his centre-back partner, Bardacha. In behind down the left flank, it's something for Jakobs to chase, who's got forward from full-back. It's been dealt with by Kusanov, but the full-back was offside, so it'll be a free kick to Manchester City anyway. City still in the top 8 as it stands. Sat in 7th position after a 10th-minute goal through Erling Haaland. Nunes running out of space on that near side, and it'll be a throw-in, I believe, for Manchester City. Or is it a free kick? A throw-in for Galatasaray. Is it a free kick for Manchester City? Didn't seem like a foul to me, but Manchester City got it their way. Like I was saying before their win at the weekend to Wolves, Manchester City had gone without a win in their last 4 Premier League games. Cherki gives it away 25 yards from goal. Lamina across to Sane, trying to play a ball through to Osimhen. Just couldn't get the touch. Just went under his foot. He applauds the idea there, Victor Osimhen. Cherki was caught out, surrounded by Galatasaray shirts. It was Lamina, the one who ended up playing it through to Sane. Then that through ball really isn't far away at all for Victor Osimhen, who does not need time in the box, because if he does, he will score. He's on 13 so far this season in all competitions. Last season in all competitions he scored 37, including a brace against Spurs in the Europa League. Bernardo Silva on the edge of the box. City try and play out from the back. Swings it across to the left to Ake, whose last goal in a City shirt was against Spurs, who they travelled to at the weekend, and that was also at Tottenham Stadium in the FA Cup, a late winner for them back in January 2024, over 2 years ago now. O'Reilly to the far side to Aït-Nouri. Doku's made a run into the box and he's been found. Davinson Sanchez comes across, but it's Jeremy Doku on the ball, squares it. Cherki, time to shoot and score. Ryan Cherki is becoming a real fan favourite at the Etihad Stadium. And once again, he finds the back of the net in back-to-back Champions League games. It's his 8th for the club since joining in the summer for £30.5 million. 8 this season. Scored in the Club World Cup as well. He's one away from double figures. As Jeremy Doku, simply too quick for Sanchez. And he had the calmness and the precision to find the pass into Cherki, who was left completely unmarked in the box. Gotta be fingers pointed maybe at Ilkay Gundogan. Stood in no man's land when he could have been marking a player instead, and that player was Ryan Cherki. Took a touch and then right-footed, placed it into the bottom left corner. As simple as you like for the Frenchman. And at the Etihad, just before the half-an-hour mark, it's Manchester City 2, Galatasaray 0. And you just got to think, where was this last week, for Manchester City during their defeat to Bodo Glimt. The Doku's already won it back, tries to fire it inside. It cannons off the head of Lamina, brought down by O'Reilly in the central area. Midway inside, the Galatasaray half battling against Sara. Eventually drops to Cherki, the goal scorer for the second. And again, relaxed on the ball, Manchester City have it. Cherki. Nouri starting to gallop down the left-hand side. He's been found in the final third. 1-on-1 with Shalai. Goes back into Cherki. In his light green boots. Feels like he can switch it on at any given moment. Nouri. Sane stood right in front of him. Feeds it to the left to Doku. 2 assists to his name tonight for the Belgian, who didn't get a single minute on the pitch last week against Bodo Glimt, despite being on the bench. Doku into O'Reilly, about 10 yards inside the Galatasaray half. He's lost it to Sara. Gundogan can't release it to a teammate, intercepted by Doku. Has bounced off him to Davinson Sanchez. So Galatasaray will have the ball back. But my word, that interception from Doku was needed because they were firing themselves away there. So with the left back, then number 4, Ismail Jakobs. Coming back from his Africa Cup of Nations victory. Bardaccia looking for a lifted ball to Yilmaz, the left winger, comes off his back left leg. And straight to Nunes. Keeps it away from Jakobs. Now Cherki on this near side. Keeps the ball. Plays it forward to Doku, who's gone from the left-hand side all the way over to the right-hand side. Trying to play it back to Nunes. And Pep Guardiola won't be happy with that. Ball goes out of play. Cherki probably just holding on to it for too long. Try to play the ball forward to Doku in between the lines, and he probably should have started building it out towards the left-hand side. But he is a maverick, Ryan Cherki, and he likes to see his own picture. Sane. Can't get it through the sea of blue shirts. Tries to win it back, but Marmoush keeps it alive, but then gives it away. And the ball forward by Sarr is intercepted by Ake, slides in, but drops to Shalai, who lifts it into the box. And Donnarumma doesn't really even have to jump, just has to raise his arms to catch that ball. So tall at around 6'5". Just a lack of concentration there from Marmoush, and Ake nearly got him out of jail. But eventually the ball in from Shalai was caught by Donnarumma. And Manchester City will play out from the back with Nico O'Reilly. It's in a left-back position. It goes forward to the halfway line to Marmoush, having to try and hold off Sanchez, and he can't quite do so. It's now with Roland Shalai, the Hungarian right-back, who has now started 7 of the 8 Champions League games for Galatasaray. The only one he didn't start was against Liverpool in their 1-0 win against them at home in game week 2. Bernardo Silva kicking the ball away from Sara. Throwing on the halfway line for Galatasaray, who've only won 1 of their last 12 away European games, Galatasaray, and that was against Ajax back on the 5th of November of this season. Sara curling it out to the left to Jakobs on the halfway line. He's not got many options, but there is a run being made in behind from Yilmaz, but Kuznov is quick and will get there first. And will play the ball forward to Nunes, who gets it around the corner for Cherki, who keeps it away from Jakobs. And City again in calm possession for now, as Nunes just got it caught under his feet, but he eventually got it out to Cherki, restarts to Kuznov. Takes a touch forward away from Sara, and then into the middle of the pitch for Doku. Sanchez will try to nick it off him, but he can't. There's a glance touch there for Nouri, who will drive forward. He's got runners with him. He'll slip it through for Haaland. He just doesn't get there. An important sliding challenge there from Shalai. And that'll be a corner for Manchester City. Erling Haaland looking for his second of the game. As we look at some of the key results around the grounds, Barcelona trailed to Copenhagen at home by 1-0. Real Madrid lead away at Benfica against Mourinho's Benfica by a goal to nil. Liverpool 2-0 up against Qarabag. Napoli have equalised at home to Chelsea. That's 1-0. After an Enzo Fernandez penalty gave them the lead in the 19th minute. It's Manchester City back up to 6th in the league phase table as it's Doku sat down at the moment. That's a worrying sign for Manchester City as it looks like they're going to be getting Phil Foden stripped and ready. It'll be very frustrating for Jeremy Doku to come off because he's already collected 2 assists himself tonight. Made an impact, finding those pockets of spaces in the middle of the pitch, with the width being brought for Manchester City through Ryan Aït-Nouri. Not quite sure what's wrong. It looks like it might be a muscle on his left leg, maybe, that's struggling. So Phil Foden now getting some tactical instruction from James French, one of the new coaches they brought in during the summer alongside Pep Linders, who was once an assistant of Jurgen Klopp. Looks like it was a collision with Sanchez. As the ball went loose to Ryan Aït-Nouri during that attack, he was just clattered into from behind by Sanchez. So obviously, whatever impact the Colombians had on the back of Doku's leg is clearly too much for the Belgian to take. And he's going to come off and be replaced by Phil Foden. So Doku just having a quick chat with Guardiola, just telling him what is exactly wrong. But that's not exactly a bad swap, is it? Phil Foden comes on. Not scored in the Premier League since the 14th of December. And he's not scored in the Champions League since he scored twice against Borussia Dortmund back on the 5th of November. As the in-swinging ball goes in, it's a header up by Sanchez from the corner. Can't be dealt with by Sara. Foden trying to find space, but there's a free kick in there. Maybe a hand by Foden accidentally, but given by the referee. Sanchez lifting it down the Galatasaray right-hand side. Header won by Ake, headed back forward by Shalai, looking for Sara, won by O'Reilly. It's now Foden getting his first few proper touches of the ball. It's now Ake on the halfway line. Cherky working it to Nico O'Reilly, signed a new 5-year deal in September last year to sign a deal until 2030. Only 20 years of age as well. Nico O'Reilly, what a player he's looking like he's becoming. Can easily play left back, but also looks more than the part as the central midfielder, which he has come through as at Manchester City. He's got the one Champions League goal so far this season, O'Reilly, and that was in their away win to Real Madrid, putting them back to 1-1 7 minutes after conceding. As Erling Haaland has it, he's held up the ball well. It's now Cherky, just in front of the halfway line, tries to spray it to the left to Aït-Nouri. Perfect ball, perfect touch. Aït-Nouri thinking about the cross, goes for the cross, deflects to Cherky on the edge of the area. Entered the box on the left-hand side, trying to find space for a shot, attempted, and the shot's blocked. And that'll be a corner on the far side for Manchester City, won by Ryan Cherky, who scored the second goal on the half-hour mark. And Ryan Cherky just scoring his 3rd ever Champions League goal. Manchester City still 6th at the moment in the table. It's an in-swinger from Cherky. It goes all the way through off the thigh of Lamina. Eventually cleared. Always finds Foden on the edge of the box. Goes back to Nunez and his pass forward comes off Osimhen and Sane heads it forward for Osimhen who's onside. Osimhen tries to square it back across. Probably should have gone on his own. And he couldn't get the contact dealt with by Nunez, who had to recover his own mistake. And again, another half scare City completely get away with, leaving themselves short at the back as O'Reilly trying to go over the top for Haaland, header won by Jacobs. And it's now with Yilmaz, the number 53 for Galatasaray, charging on his own down the left-hand side. He's got Bernardo Silva and Nunez trying to stop him. He continues to run towards the corner flag. Bernardo Silva sending him to the floor. And there'll be a throw-in for Galatasaray. Well won there by Barish Alper Yilmaz. Never ever scored in the Champions League proper, excluding qualifying. Sané's header forward to Osimhen was pretty good. It was into the space, but I think that just highlights the pace Matheus Nunes has. Jakobs with a long throw. It's in the air for some time. Header away all as far as Lemina puts it back in for Yilmaz. Squares it across with a lifted ball. And eventually the flag goes up for offside. That throw-in from Ismail Jakobs felt like it was in the air forever. As when Lemina put the ball back in for Yilmaz, I think he was just offside. It was pretty tight. But for Manchester City, this is now their 15th successive Champions League campaign. Of course, winning it the once back in 2023. First 2 Champions League campaigns, they didn't even get out the group stage. The first season, they were in a group alongside Napoli, Bayern Munich and Villarreal. And in the second season, they were in a group with Real Madrid, Borussia Dortmund and Ajax. So they were properly given the tough welcome back into European football, Manchester City. It's Galatasaray on the ball with Davinson Sanchez just towards his own 18-yard box. Goes to the right back, Shalai. Gundogan showing himself as an option. He's been found and he works it to Lemina. Back into Shalai. Davinson Sanchez in the 18-yard box to the goalkeeper of Czechos. Bardaccia, the left centre-back. Down the line for Yilmaz. Being pressured by Nunes. Bardaccia kicks it off Nunes and that will be a throw-in the left-back position for Galatasaray. We've won the Super Cup, the UEFA Super Cup back in 2000 after winning the UEFA Cup in 2000 against Arsenal after a 0-0 draw. They won 4-1 on penalties. Alongside that, they've won 25 league titles, 19 cups, 17 Super Cups in Turkey domestically. That's Shalai at right back, just inside his own half for now, but he's trying to get into the Manchester City half. Checks back just before the white line. And puts his foot on the ball and goes back here to Sanchez, who made over 200 appearances during his 6-year stint at Tottenham Hotspur. Czechos tries to play a ball out to the right winger, Sane, well away from the German. And it's a throw-in on the halfway line for Manchester City. Seen out by Ryan Aït-Nouri, as Algeria were knocked out in the quarter-final stage to Nigeria in AFCON. Did come through the French youth ranks at international level, Aït-Nouri, before switching over to Algeria. Played for their under-18s, under-19s and under-21s. Davinson Sanchez back on the ball for Galatasaray. Goes to the right back position here where Lemina takes up that spot. Across to Sanchez. It's now with Mario Lemina, their number 99. His contract does expire at the end of the season, but there is an option for an extra year if he wants it. As Shalai goes over the top for Osimhen, that's a better ball. A little shove from Kusanov was enough to knock him off balance and for the ball to bounce through to Donnarumma. Good defending in the end there by Abdulkadir Kusanov. Been at the club now for over a year after signing from Lens for £33.6 million. First ever Premier League player that comes from Uzbekistan. As his ball forward towards Haaland, cut out by Bardaccia. Sane in a more central area goes back into Lemina. Now into his own half to Shalai. Hungarian fullback. He's played 64 times for Hungary. 15 goals for them. Never scored though for them in a major tournament. That's Gundogan on the halfway line. Out wide right to Sane. First time ball forward for Shalai. Just about reaches him. Then goes back into his left to Gundogan. Returns it to Shalai. Running behind down the right for Sara. Ake's going to try and get across. Ake does get across, keeps the ball in and away from the Brazilian. Proper defending that from Nathan Ake. Showing that he is still valuable within this Manchester City setup. Does turn 31 in the middle of February in about 3 weeks' time. Has been linked with a move away, but with these injuries that have cropped up for Manchester City with Diaz and Gvardiol, it has meant that they've had to call upon their more fringe defenders. For example, bringing Max Elaine back from his loan early from Watford, and also not panic buying Mark Gay because he is an England international and a FA Cup captain winning defender. But I'm sure those two injuries made them move quicker to bring in Mark Gahey. As Aït-Nouri down the left gets away from Sane and away from Shalai. Aït-Nouri, low ball for Foden. And he diverts it over the top, about 12 yards out. Didn't think the touch was necessary, Phil Foden, so took it first time. Just never looked like he was under control when taking on the finish. He's been absolutely electric so far this evening, Ryan Aït-Nouri, displaying to Guardiola why he wants to be starting football matches for this club. It's going to be a goal kick to be taken by Uchan Chekush, the 29-year-old goalkeeper. First ever taste of Champions League football for him this season. Davinson Sanchez to Gundogan. It's now Shalai. Forward to Leroy Sane, who've had a minute added on here at the Etihad Stadium. Just before the break, we've already played 45 seconds of the added on time. Sane drifting into the middle and playing out to the left towards Jacobs. He's asking a lot of the fullback. Nunes will get there first and see it behind for a throw-in. Very well defended there by Mateus Nunes, who did miss that game against Bodo Glimt and the derby against Manchester United. 2 games he was missing. Fell to 2 Manchester City defeats as the referee, Alejandro Hernandez, the Spaniard, will blow for half-time here at the Etihad Stadium. And Pep Guardiola's side are doing what they need to do to try and qualify into the top 8. As it stands, they sit in 6th position, and that's due to 2 first-half goals. The first through Erling Haaland, who's now scored 56 Champions League goals in 56 Champions League games. It's his 27th of the season for the Blues in all competitions. It was a ball from Jeremy Doku on the halfway line, slipped in behind for Erling Haaland, who got away from Bardaccia and was one-on-one with the goalkeeper in the 18-yard box, right through the middle. He saw the goalkeeper go down early. He lifted it over the top of him and into the back of the net. And just about 20 minutes later, it was 2, and it was another assist from Doku from the left-hand side. With his skills and his pace, he was able to pull it across for Cherki, keeping it away from Sanchez. Cherki, all on his own, too much time in the box, took a touch and dispatched it into the bottom left corner. During the end of the first half, unfortunately, the assister for both goals had to come off Jeremy Doku with a slight knock from Sanchez. That's probably the only negative so far for Manchester City, because they've been in cruise control. They've dominated the game. And here at the Etihad, it is Manchester City 2, Galatasaray 0 at half-time. And we'll quickly go through the half-time scores around the ground, and then I'll have a quick break for half-time. And I will return for the second half, as at the moment it's Manchester City up to 5th. So Ajax and Olympiacos are coming towards half-time, and that is 0-0. And Arsenal 3-1 up against Kairat Almaty. It was Gyökeres to get the goal in the 3rd minute. And then a penalty given away, and Jorginho, a forward for them, scored in the 7th minute. So that gave them an equaliser, but Havertz and Martinelli have since scored, and Arsenal lead 3-1. Atletico Bilbao are 2-1 up at home to Sporting. After taking an early lead, they were pegged back, but they've also got back in the lead. And Atletico are 1-1 with Bodo Glimt. Soloth with the first goal for Atletico, but then they were pegged back 10 minutes before half-time. Barca still trail to Copenhagen at the break. Dadison with a goal, assisted by El Yunusi. By Leverkusen, who have won here at the Etihad Stadium this season, a 2-0 up against Villarreal. Malik Tillman with both goals, and Benfica against Real Madrid. It's 1-1 at the moment. Mbappe with the goal after half an hour, but then Sheldrup with the equaliser, and it looks like they're getting a penalty, so Benfica could go 2-1 up before half-time. Club Brugge are 2-0 up against Marseille. They went 2-0 up in 11 minutes. Dortmund Inter are 0-0. Eintracht Frankfurt Tottenham is 0-0. Liverpool against Karabag is 2-0. Frimpong coming off in the 4th minute, but goals from McAllister and Wirtz have given them a 2-goal lead. Monaco Juventus a 0-0. Napoli lead against Chelsea 2-1. Højlund making it 2-1. The man on loan from Manchester United. Paphos 1, Slavia Prague 1, PSG 1, Newcastle 1. Penalty missed from Ousmane Dembele in the 4th minute. Vitinha scored in the 8th. But then an equaliser right before the break from Joe Willock. It gave them an equalising goal. PSV Bayern are 0-0, and Royal Union Saint-Gilloise is also 0-0 as they face Atalanta. And Benfica, looks like they have been awarded that penalty in their home game against Real Madrid. And for Real Madrid, they would stay in the top 8 even if they do begin to draw. Even if they do go behind, as it looks like Pavlidis has scored. So Benfica are 2-1 up. So at the moment, as it stands, the top 8 first is Arsenal, who are 8 out of 8 for this Champions League run. Very, very impressive stuff. Bayern Munich are second, Liverpool third, Manchester City have just gone up to 4th, Real Madrid are in 5th, Tottenham are in 6th, PSG in 7th, and Newcastle are in 8th. So still plenty to play for, as at the moment it looks like all the games are at half-time. I'm going to have a quick 10-minute break and I'll be back for second half live commentaries. At the moment, at the Etihad Stadium at half-time, it is Manchester City 2, Galatasaray 0. Oh, we are back for the second half at the Etihad Stadium as Manchester City currently lead by 2-0 against Turkish champions Galatasaray. Back-to-back Turkish champions as well. They've won the last 3 league titles in a row, but they have not been able to deal with Manchester City, who have been on it tonight, not compared to last week when they were beaten 3-1 by Bodo Glimt. One of the scorers tonight did score the goal against Bodo Glimt. Ryan Cherky has been as skillful, as bright as ever, as I don't think we've had any changes at half-time. The only change we've had in the game was Jeremy Doku coming off with an injury, and he was replaced by Phil Foden. It was unfortunate for Doku as well because he has assisted both the Manchester City goals, but it has been a good start for the home side with results going on around the grounds, because at the moment Manchester City have got themselves in 4th position. So they would finish in the top 8 and they would miss out on having to play in the playoff round, as Manchester City will kick us off, kicking right to left, and it'll be Galatasaray kicking left to right towards the end, where their away support is. About an hour, 9-hour round trip altogether for Galatasaray, with flights there and back as Aït-Nouri volleys the ball up into the air the wrong way, and in the final third on the far side it will be a Galatasaray throw-in for Manchester City to have to deal with. They've taken it quickly. It's with Yilmaz, who doesn't overrun it. In fact, he keeps it in play, and it's back in the Galatasaray half with Bardakçı. It's now the goalkeeper Çekuş. Shalai at right back, finding Davinson Sanchez being closed down by Marmoush. Gets it to Shalai, first time clearance up towards Osimhen with the left foot. Again, Kusanov defends him brilliantly, and it's a lifted ball into the midfield. Can't find Foden, but the header from Lamina goes out of touch, and there'll be a throw-in for Manchester City. And with that 2-0 defeat they picked up against Bayer Leverkusen in their last home game in the Champions League, it ended a 23-match unbeaten run at home within the group stage / league phase of the Champions League. They'd won the previous 20 and drawing 3 of them as well. It was a run stretching back to September 2018. So usually in the beginning stages of this competition, the Etihad Stadium is a complete fortress and they very rarely lose. But if you might remember that line-up against Leverkusen, I'm pretty sure there was 10 changes to the weekend line-up that they had before that game. Throwing for Manchester City on the far side with Mateus Nunes. Rio born Mateus Nunes in Brazil, but moved to Portugal at the age of 12 as Erling Haaland is pulled to the ground by Abdul Karim Bardakçı, and that'll be a free kick for Manchester City. Had a good grab of Erling Haaland's arm and simply didn't let go. So free kick for Manchester City. Spurs are 1-0 up away at Frankfurt, so Manchester City do drop to 5th position in the league table. Still enough for top 8. Aït-Nouri chest down a switch from Bernardo Silva. He's facing his own goal. He's got Sane putting him under pressure. He needs to release it here. Aït-Nouri goes all the way back to Ake on the edge of the 18-yard box. Across to Gianluigi Donnarumma. 79 appearances he's got for Italy. Made his debut for them at the age of 17 years and 6 months. Back in September 2016, almost 10 years being a part of the Italian setup, pretty much 10 years now as a professional goalkeeper. Came through at a very early age. Donnarumma, the only game he's not played in this season's Champions League for Manchester City was that home defeat to Bayer Leverkusen. Donnarumma with the ball in his hands. He's getting the countdown from the referee, Alejandro Hernandez. He drops it. Plays a 15-yard pass to his right to Kusanov. back across to Donnarumma. Bit of time on the ball for the Italian. Left-footed ball goes low and it's straight to Leroy Sané, who's driving inside onto that stronger left foot. Tries to go forward to Lamina. Just a bit too much on it from the German. And Donnarumma wants to set City off as quickly as possible. Throws it to Foden. It's now Aït-Nouri on the near side, just in front of the halfway line. Down the line to Marmoush. Is he caught from behind? Think he was. Free kick for the home side. As Manchester City have only lost 25 games here at the Etihad. Under Pep Guardiola, he's lost 90 times. Just 25 of them at home. Won his first 10 games in a row as Manchester City manager back in 2016. Bernardo Silva tries to find Marmoush in between the lines, cut out by Lamina. Davinson Sanchez. Shalai was caught as he played it to Sanchez, and that will be a free kick in a right-back position for Galatasaray. Just a late one there from Omar Marmoush. I think he'll avoid the booking. Just steps right onto the top of the foot of the Hungarian right-back. That will be a sore one just for a couple of moments. So 5 minutes into the second half. It's still Manchester City 2, Galatasaray 0. Just not been able to test the Manchester City defence enough in this game. Galatasaray, as we've got a pitch invader with a Hungarian flag. It looks like a Hungarian flag, of course. As soon as a pitch invader comes on, the cameras quickly turn away. Not entirely sure what the point of that is. There wasn't exactly a lot going on, so it's not like this pitch invader's killed any momentum for anyone. As they're going to show the replays of the goal. Doku with both assists. Haaland with the first. A lovely lifted finish over the goalkeeper. And the second one from the left-hand side. A more natural Doku position. Squared it across for Cherki. Took his time and slotted the ball home for his 8th goal of the season. So still dealing with this pitch invader at the moment. As Galatasaray still just returning from their winter break that they've had over Christmas and New Year. And for Galatasaray, they need to score 2 goals to become the first ever Turkish team to reach 250 goals in European Cup history. I don't think that'll happen tonight. I don't want to jinx it and they go and do it, but they've just not at all put enough pressure on this Manchester City defence. As the pitch invader has been dealt with. And we're back underway. Davinson Sanchez, right centre-back. It's a lifted ball in behind it. And it's a great ball for Shalai, who's forward from right back. Lifts it into the box towards Osimhen. It's an important flick-away header from Kusanov. No flag went up in the end. Manchester City play on. Down the right-hand side towards Haaland. Touch isn't great. Picked up by Lamina. It's down the halfway line with Sanchez. Going across to his right to Shalai. He's looked a very steady player in this game. The Galatasaray number 7. And here he is again on the ball on the halfway line. Goes inside 5 yards to Sane. And then back to Davinson Sanchez. Bardaccia. Lifted ball down the left-hand side for Yilmaz. Heads it on for Sara. Kusanov there again. Towards his own corner flag on the far side. Shielding the ball. Trying to kick it off of the Galatasaray player. And he does just that. Throwing for Manchester City in a right-back position. Well dealt with there by Kusanov. And it'll be Mateus Nunes to take this throw-in on his 100th Manchester City appearance. It really didn't look like this move was going to work for him. But he'd been revolutionised like Pep likes to do with central midfielders. He's been moved to full-back. And he's become ever-present for Manchester City at right-back when he's fit and available. And when he's not available, they clearly feel his presence not there. Because he missed the games against Bodo Glimt and Manchester United. And City lost both of them. And when he returned against Wolves, he provided a wonderful assist for Haaland's goal. For Marmoush's goal in the 6th minute. A lovely cross into the box. As it's Galatasaray trying to play out from the back. Davinson Sanchez to Sane. Lamina forward to Shalai. Back his side to Sane. Good football here from Galatasaray. Sane running forward and running through Bernardo Silva. Playing it into Gundogan. He's got the overlap here of Jakobs, the left back. Taking his time to find a cross. He's got Nunez trying to stop him. Back inside to Sara. Quick 1-2 there with Yilmaz. Sara with the shot across. And it comes off the chest of Kusanov, who feels that one. And it will be a corner on the far side for Galatasaray. First proper piece of football there from the Turkish side. Going from back to front. Right into the chest there of Kusanov. Not quite sure what it was. I can't quite tell if that's a shot or a cross from Gabriel Sara. And he'll be the one taking the set piece. An outswinger. It's Osimhen with the header. Straight into the gloves of Donnarumma. Simple save for the Italian. One of his first real sights at goal for tonight. Victor Osimhen. He scored 4 in 6. Yeah, the Africa Cup of Nations for Nigeria, who ended up finishing third after beating Egypt in the third place playoff. Ake at left centre-back. Going direct for the ball forward, but cut out by Bardaccia. The touch is heavy and it releases his Phil Foden. He's got Marmoush to his left and he'll find him. Haaland's also now to the right. Marmoush tried to go on his own, getting the ball stuck under his feet after pressure from Sanchez and eventually kicked away by Bardaccia. Bit of a wasted opportunity there from Omar Marmoush, who started brightly, but seems to have faded throughout the game. Gone a little bit quiet at times. Just making his 26th start for Manchester City, Marmoush, since joining last January for £59 million from Eintracht Frankfurt. Manchester City still in the top 8 as it stands. Jerky. Handball from Osimhen on the far side. That'll be a free kick for Manchester City. Doesn't argue it with the face mask on. Victor Osimhen. Yeah, Manchester City haven't lost 2 Champions League games in a row since they went on a run of 3 losses in a row. They lost their second leg last 16 home game to Basel, despite still going through after a heavy first leg win. And then they lost the quarter-final to Liverpool, home and away. But they've not lost 2 in a row since then. As O'Reilly overruns it. Tries to win it back, but can't. It's Sane. Bringing the ball out towards the Galatasaray left, slowing it down. Allowing everyone to get into position. Finding Bardaccia. Into the left back, Jakobs. Germany born the full back, but represents Senegal and did so very well with them winning the Africa Cup of Nations. 12 minutes into the second half, still Manchester City 2, Galatasaray 0. Davinson Sanchez in a right back position here on the ball, going into Lamina in the 18-yard area. Back into the goalkeeper, Čekuš. Sweeps it out to the left side. It's a brilliant ball and it's well controlled as well by Jakobs. Back into Bardaccia. Forward towards the halfway line. Good flick from Yilmaz. Jakobs to Sara. Back through for Jakobs. He's got pace. And does he get there ahead of Cherki? He doesn't. Who got the last touch? Galatasaray man. And that'll be a goal kick. Well defended there by Ryan Cherki. Got across. And yeah, took a nick of the ball. But kicked it back off Jakobs. And it's a goal kick for Manchester City. Slight laugh there from the Galatasaray manager, Erkan Buruk. Thinks that probably should have been a corner. Come through, firstly, as an assistant. Buruk, assisting the Turkish national team between 2011 and 2013. Also took charge of Başakşehir in Turkey as well. Eventually, Galatasaray are back on the ball with their left centre-back, Abdul Karim Bardaccia. 31 years of age, the 6'2" centre-back. Čekuš, the goalkeeper, pinging it to the right side here to the right back, Shalai. It's now with the goalkeeper again, Chekush, forward to the edge of the box to Lamina. Out to the right to Shalai. Now with the Colombian Sanchez. Chekush to the left centre-back of Bardaccia, allowed to bring the ball forward. No one pressing him at this current moment for Manchester City. Just got over half an hour left to play. Still 2-0 at the Etihad Stadium. 2 first-half goals from Haaland and Cherki. The difference so far. Sane try to get in between Foden and Aït-Nouri. And that door stays shut, but an individual battle with Foden does mean Galatasaray have the ball back. With Lamina stood in between the 2 centre-backs at the moment. And misplaces the ball out to the Galatasaray right. It's Aït-Nouri. At left back. Going back once more here to Nathan Ake. Forward through the middle for Cherki on the halfway line. Keeps it away from Jakobs and then sends it in behind from Marmoush on the left-hand side. Sanchez tracking his every step. Still with Marmoush on the left wing. Going inside to Cherki once more. Just one player ahead of him, and that's Haaland, and he's not exactly in a position to have the ball at the moment. Bernardo Silva, who's had a rather quiet second half on the ball. Cherki into a more central position now with O'Reilly. Goes under Foden's foot, cheaply given away. Not quite been on it since he's had to come on as a sub in the first half, Phil Foden. Sane skips away from O'Reilly and then loses out to Phil Foden. Cherki gets beyond Lamina, then just plays it behind Marmoush on the edge of the box. And the referee will stop play here as Leroy Sane has remained down injured after that collision with Phil Foden. Scored 6 in 21 appearances for Manchester City in the Champions League. Ooh, just turned his ankle there. Always a painful one. Just a slight kick and a collision with Phil Foden meant his ankle's just turned over. He has faced Manchester City before, Leroy Sane. That was back during the treble season. Came here with Bayern Munich in the quarter-final stage and were knocked out by Manchester City. Manchester City fans will like to see Leroy Sane back with Ilkay Gundogan. The two of them have played with each other 136 times previously, combining for 5 goals during those games. Davinson Sanchez at right centre-back as we are underway again at the Etihad Stadium. Sane still feeling that, and I think he'll have to come off. Yeah. Unless he just needs a bit more time to walk it off, because he has just turned over his ankle, which is just always just an awkward pain to have. As soon as it happens, it's a nasty one to feel. And it's Donnarumma distributing it up towards Haaland, who's battling Bardaccia, and he wins that battle. Tries to play it through for Marmoush the first time, deflects back to Haaland, who has got options to his left, and that is Marmoush. He'll find him this time, and the shot just about kept into the grasp of goalkeeper Uchan Chekush. Found himself off balance there, Omar Marmoush. Kept himself onside as Haaland found him once again. But the first touch just didn't get it out of his feet enough. And then he's had to rush the shot, half off balance, straight at the goalkeeper, who spilt it himself a little bit, but was able to gather the second ball. 62.5 minutes in here at the Etihad Stadium. Still Manchester City 2, Galatasaray 0. Manchester City slip into 6th position in the Champions League table. Barcelona are now 2-1 up against Copenhagen, so they've gone up to 5th, leapfrogging Manchester City. Galatasaray certainly had more of the ball in this second half as the goalkeeper Chekush is out of his 18-yard box to keep the ball playing. Bardaccia into Gabriel Sara. Over the top ball. Finds Shalai, the fullback, who lays it off for Osimhen. Big save, Donnarumma. Been very impressed with him tonight, Roland Shalai, the Hungarian right back, making a lot of advanced runs in behind, and that time he was able to just lay it off to Osimhen with his right foot. It was bouncing a little bit, but Osimhen was able to get over the shot. And unfortunately for the Nigerian, it was just too close to Donnarumma, but he had to react quickly to push the ball away. Slight warning that for Manchester City. This game certainly still not over. Ake to Aït-Nouri. Plenty of room on this left-hand side as he works it into the final third. The cross deflects to Cherki on the edge of the box. Knocks it away from Lamina. Forward to Foden. Twists and a shot. Blocked by Sanchez. Shalai right back. Lines it to Sarah. Turns away from O'Reilly. And then the dangling leg of O'Reilly does just about nick the ball away from the Brazilian. Cherki. O'Reilly forward to Foden. Cherki making a run off the ball and he's been found by Aït-Nouri. Cherki on the left-hand side. Slows down the play. He's running at Shalai. Into the box. Aït-Nouri 1-2 with Cherki. Can he get another goal? He's trying to. The ball deflects to Aït-Nouri. Saved at the near post from the goalkeeper. Cross back in from Foden. Dealt with by Sanchez, who clears it long for Galatasaray up towards Osimhen. Goes over his head and Ake's. It's going to be cleaned up at the back here by Kusanov. For Manchester City, just playing his 7th game in the Champions League in his career. The Uzbekistan international. It does look like Tajani Reinders will be coming on for the last 25 minutes for Manchester City whenever the ball next goes out of play. Kusanov slipping it in behind for Nunez, who's made an advance run from fullback. He's tracked every step of the way there by Yilmaz, the left winger. And it's now with the left back, Jakobs, for Galatasaray. Badacha, back to the goalkeeper. First time clearance away. It's a big kick, not anywhere near Victor Osimhen, who's left a frustrated figure as Napoli are now pegged back by Chelsea. It's 2-2 in Naples, as Real Madrid are now 3-2 down against Benfica. How's the scoring gone there? So Benfica actually went 3-1 up with Sheldrup again, but Mbappe just scored his second to make it 3-2. It's a positive result that for Manchester City. Real Madrid losing in terms of that top 8 position. And it's going to be Galatasaray making a triple change, but the ball's still not going out of play. Cherki 1-2 with Aït-Nouri. Will he get there? And Sanchez? No, he won't. Sliding across well there, the Colombian. Shalai down the right channel. Osimhen is onside for now. The flag has stayed down and then goes up on the Nigerian. It's been a frustrating night for the number 45 so far. Uchan. Chekush with a key save just a couple of minutes ago on Aït-Nouri, getting his right foot in the way. And here come the changes. I'm not surprised with this first one. He has not been able to impact the game at all since the opening 10 minutes. He looked bright at the beginning, but he's just slightly gone off the boil, and that is Omar Marmoush, who did score at the weekend against Wolves in his first start in the Premier League since August. So Marmoush comes off for Reinders, who's yet to score in this season's Champions League. We've got 3 Galatasaray changes. One of them is Captain Ilkay Gundogan, who's met by a warm round of applause, the treble-winning captain. He's replaced by Lucas Torreira. The Uruguayan, formerly of Arsenal, has beaten Manchester City once in his career, and that was in the FA Cup semi-final in 2020. One of the other changes, we'll see Barish Alpe Yilmaz come off for Yunus Akgun, who spent a season on loan at Leicester 2 seasons ago under Enzo Maresca. I'm not quite sure on the third and final change. I'll let you know when I get confirmation of who's come off and who has come on. It's Reinders who's come on for Manchester City. Feeds it out to the left to Aït-Nouri again, who's in the left wing position. Reinders makes a run in behind. Aït-Nouri tried to go on his own, ended up losing the ball and then fouling Shalai. And it's a free kick for Galatasaray. To the left back, Jakobs. I think the other change was centre-back. Abdul Karim Bardach has come off. Not sure who's replaced him yet. Sanchez goes long towards Osimhen, header won by Kusanov. Brought down by O'Reilly, who lifts it into Reinders. Tries to win the header on Sanchez. Looks like they've collided heads there. That's a nasty, nasty collision. Both medical teams have been asked to come on immediately. And yeah, the second change, we'll see Bardacha come off for the left back. Eren Aymala for the Galatasaray. So maybe a little bit of a move around of things, or it might just be that El Maher is going to be going on as left centre-back, as Pep Guardiola is going to use this break to get the whole other 10 starting players on at the moment for a quick pep talk, including Gianluigi Donnarumma, as they want to try and see out the last 20 minutes of this game. Galatasaray manager Erkan Buruk just having a word with Victor Osimhen and also Roland Shalai as well. Again, brilliantly weighted ball by Doku for Haaland for the first goal. Erling Haaland scored his 27th of the season in all competitions for Manchester City. He is 7th in the all-time list of Manchester City scorers. When he gets to 154 goals, which is only 3 away, he will go 4th in the all-time scorers list, going ahead of Colin Bell, who would then drop down to 5th. He's an absolute goal-scoring machine, is Erling Haaland. They've not shown any footage since the head collision between Sanchez and Reinders, so it's obviously a rather nasty head-on-head collision. It's still Manchester City stay in the top 8. They are in 6th. Arsenal 1st, Bayern 2nd, Liverpool 3rd, Tottenham 4th, Barca 5th, City 6th, Real Madrid 7th and PSG 8th. As we'll just catch up on some key results. Bodo Glimt are having the Champions League campaign of their lives. They are leading 2-1 away to Atletico Madrid, and this will put them into the playoff positions. It will put them from 28th into 22nd. What a night it could be for Bodo Glimt, as back-to-back wins against Manchester City and Atletico could have them qualify. Barcelona are 3-1 up against Copenhagen, the front three with a goal each. Lewandowski, Yamal and Rafinha. Benfica still lead Real Madrid by 3-2. Still no goals between Dortmund and Inter. Liverpool are 5-0 up against Karabakh. 2 goals from McAllister, and then 1 each from Wirtz, Salah and Ekitike. Napoli, Chelsea still 2-2. The equaliser from João Pedro, an assist from Cole Palmer. And PSG still being held by 1-1 by Newcastle, and Bayern lead away at PSV. Musiala with the goal. So Reinders and Sanchez still receiving treatment. Tajani Reinders with a massive white bandage around his head, and so does Davinson Sanchez. So fortunately for both, it looks like they will both be able to continue. First time these two have ever met, but Galatasaray have played Manchester United 8 times before, winning twice. 1-0 at home back in November 2012, also winning at Old Trafford very recently under Ten Hag's days, 3-2 back in October 2023. 4 draws and then 2 defeats, so pretty good record against Manchester United. The 2 defeats, one of them came in a 4-0 away loss at Old Trafford in December 94, and they also were beaten at Old Trafford in September 2012. So Sanchez and Reinders are on the side of the pitch at the moment, still just getting the last final bit of clean-up that they need to get back on the pitch. Lamina covering at centre-back at the moment for Sanchez. Sara in the midfield, forward into the centre circle here for Akgun. Spreads it out wide. Chance here for Galatasaray. Osimhen's making a run in the middle. He's going to try to be found. It's come off Ake. And behind for a corner. A couple of yards away from that far post. Not too far away. Felt like he had to get some on it, Ake, because Osimhen was lurking behind. Touches it out for a corner kick, not taking any risks there. Nathan Ake, formerly of Chelsea. So the referee is getting Davinson Sanchez and Tijani Reinders back on with 16 minutes left to play of the 90. Right arm raised by Gabriel Sara. And then it goes to the near post. Header won by Aït-Nouri. And it'll be a throw-in for the away team. Should have done a lot better with that, really. The Brazilian midfielder. They are 3 points clear, though, at the top of the Turkish table. Galatasaray 3 clear of Fenerbahce, who drew 1-1 at the weekend. Galatasaray won their game 3-1. 2 goals from Gabriel Sara and 1 from Osimhen. Sane to Akgun, who took the captain's armband. Back into Sane on the edge of the box. Out wide once more to Akgun. Tries the left-footed cross, deflects and then flicked away by Reinders. Only for Sane, who puts it back into the 18-yard area. No one chasing it down for Galatasaray. And it is Donnarumma with time on the ball. Playing it to the left to Aït-Nouri. Donnarumma in the 6-yard box. Playing it to the right to Kusanov. Galatasaray are pressing here. Kusanov needs to release it. Back across to Donnarumma, who just gets rid. Taking no chances. It's up to Haaland, who flicks it to the right to Cherki. It's actually worked a treat for Manchester City. Cherki having to hold it up. There's no clear pass on. Keeps it simple to Bernardo Silva. Kusanov on halfway. Driving forward with the ball. He's going to keep driving forward. Kusanov takes a touch out wide, which is too heavy. And that'll be a throw-in for Galatasaray. Mario Lemina on the ball. Going to his left ear to Jakub. So it does look like the left back, who started at left back, should I say, has moved into left centre back. And the substitute Aaron Elmala has gone in at left back. So we shall the right back. Midway side the Manchester City half. Goes into the middle to Sara. Torreira. Back into Sanchez on the halfway line, wearing that white bandaging around his head. Shalai running away from Aït-Nouri, playing it back here into Sane. Sanchez on the halfway line. Across to the left now to Lemina. Scored twice for Galatasaray, Mario Lemina, since joining just under a year ago. It's quite strange. He's 32 years of age, but the most appearances he's had for one club, Mario Lemina, was Wolves, and he only played 77 times for them. Clearly a man who's always on the move, never really settling in, getting the maximum amount of games he can. This is appearance number 68, though, for Galatasaray. Sane down the right side to Shalai. Flag stays down for now in the final third. Shalai, there's plenty of bodies in the box, but not really space to cross it at the moment. Akgun forward to Sara. Sane try to find a ball towards Torreira, given away by Akgun, well intercepted by O'Reilly. Now City can break. Cherki's got Haaland through the middle. Foden to the left. Feeds Foden. 1-on-1 with Sanchez. Tijani Reinders. To the right to Erling Haaland. Try to replay the ball through to Reinders. Well out of his goal and off his line there by Čekus to catch the ball. And it stays at 2-0 with 12 to play. Sane tries the 1-2 with Shalai, just cannot get the ball back under control. Manchester City restart with Donnarumma. Won 9 out of 12 at home in the Premier League, Manchester City, losing just the once. And that was against Spurs, 2-0 back in August. And Spurs have just gone 2-0 up themselves in their Champions League game against Eintracht Frankfurt. And that would put them 4th in the Champions League table, which is probably just about keeping Thomas Frank's job alive for now, as Reinders out to the left to Aït-Nouri. He's found these spaces all day long, through for Foden, squares it for Haaland. It's an almost impossible ball to finish, and it goes away and past the Norwegian. And City still searching for this third goal of the game. Timed his run well, Foden in the box, just too much pace and height on the cross, just needed to go low instead of high. Haaland was stretching, can't say he didn't try, but was just never going to get there. Pep Guardiola not best pleased, and it remains 2-0 to Manchester City. Only lost 6 Champions League games at home. Pep Guardiola at the Etihad. As both former Manchester City players have now departed. The second one being Leroy Sané. He has been brought off it, and he's going to be replaced by number 23 Kaan Ayhan. Usually a holding midfielder. Represents Turkey, but born in Germany. Came through the Schalke Academy. A bit like Leroy Sané. Aït-Nouri on the halfway line, on the near side. Going back into his own half here to Nathan Ake. Here's Bernardo Silva, signed between the two centre-backs. Back out wide to Aït-Nouri, midway inside his own half. Back to Ake, shifts it on once more to Silva. Donnarumma lifting it out to the right. It's just gone a bit too far forward. And the header, it's not took a header, nope. Straight out of play, in fact, for a throw-in for Galatasaray towards the halfway line. He let it roll out of play there, Erin Elmaha. Aymala. As Galatasaray give it away, and Cherki feeds Haaland. Reinders making a late run. He joins in the attack. He's been forced away from goal by Sanchez. Both of them with their white bandages on, and Reinders can't keep the ball under control. And that'll be thrown in the right back position for Galatasaray. Defended pretty consistently throughout the game. Davinson Sanchez, 29 years of age now, making his 105th Galatasaray appearance. As we look at a Manchester City change, and the scorer of the second, Ryan Cherki, comes off for a return in Nico Gonzalez. A very happy sight for Pep Guardiola to see. The Spaniard had missed the previous 4 games out injured, and with Rodri still kind of returning to full fitness, and of course getting himself sent off in the last Champions League game. It's good to see Nico Gonzalez back on the pitch. This does mean I think Bernardo Silva will play more of a wide position now, with Gonzalez in the middle. Čekuš for Galatasaray in the 18-yard box. He's going to go long with a big kick forward. It's absolutely massive. I don't know why he's kicked it that far. Straight to Donnarumma in the opposite 18-yard box. Not sure who and where he was aiming for. Uçan Čekuš, the goalkeeper. Nunes into Bernardo Silva on that far side. Pretty isolated. Skips beyond one. Then goes back to the halfway line to Nico Gonzalez. Manchester City number 14, came through the Barcelona Academy. His only Champions League goal came for City last season. Consolation at the end of their playoff second leg away at Real Madrid. Ake. Going forward and going high, going long. Header won by Sanchez on Haaland. Galatasaray want to try and work it back. Rushed forward by Jakobs. Headed forward by Aït-Nouri. Foden chases down Sanchez. Just lifts it to the right back. Shalai on halfway. Forward to Akgun. Returning the ball to Davinson Sanchez. Spent a year at Ajax, making the Europa League final before making the switch to Tottenham. Sarah. Scoring a brace at the weekend in the league. Again, looked a tidy player. A lot of the Galatasaray players have looked pretty decent, just not that kind of outstanding quality to have them in the game, but you clearly see why the top of the Turkish league and playing in the Champions League, they've got the quality to do it, but maybe not quite the Manchester City type quality. As we've got 6 minutes left here at the Etihad Stadium plus added on time, and Chelsea have took the lead against Napoli, so that drops Manchester City to 7th in the table. So they're still in the top 8, but Chelsea have leapfrogged up and gone to 6th as they've took the lead in Naples. Huge goal for Chelsea and Liam Rosenior, João Pedro at the double, 2 assists also for Cole Palmer. So it just makes things interesting, because now for Manchester City, the only way they come out of the top 8 is if PSG or Newcastle take the lead in their game, or if Sporting do as well. That's while Real Madrid are losing. So there's still a couple of results that need to go against City for them to come out of the top 8. But never know what could happen. Torreira looking for Osimhen again. Tries to control it this time. Goes nowhere near him. And in the end it's deflected away. But Galatasaray still trying to attack with Akgun. Gets the ball returned to him off Reinders. Osimhen holding it up better this time and releasing it to the left of Jakobs. Can they try and get a cross into the box? Sarra's an option. He's been found, the number 8. Got a bit of time for a cross. Left-footed. It's a deep one. In it goes towards Shalai. Had to be touched behind by Aït-Nouri. Good defending from the Algerian, who's impressed at left-back tonight. And he's had to, because when O'Reilly has been playing there, he has shone very bright, earning him England call-ups. As we're going to get another Galatasaray change. Probably one of their better players, Gabriel Sara, will come off. Brought in last season from Norwich for just over £15 million. Scored 21 times for the Canaries in 96 appearances. He'll be replaced by Mauro Icardi. He's got 71 goals in 115 Galatasaray appearances. Missed a lot of last season with an ACL injury from November to May. But he's got a few goals in the Champions League himself. Not quite bagged one yet this season in 6 previous appearances. As Galatasaray get the ball back in from the corner. Header away by Nunes. Galatasaray work it to the far side to Shalai. Left-footed ball towards Osimhen. Heads it on into the box. Not sure if the flag went up anyway. No flag had stayed down. No one making the advance run for the travelling team. Donnarumma on the ball. Playing it forward to O'Reilly in the 18-yard area. To the left now to Ake. Forward to Foden. Touches it into Aït-Nouri, who's just about dispossessed by Shalai. But there is a free kick given. For an offside, I think. I'm not quite sure what the free kick's been given for there. Got 3 minutes anyway left to play. O'Reilly on this near side. He's got a switch on towards Bernardo Silva, and he finds him brilliantly. Bernardo Silva in the right wing with the captain's armband on. Keeps it away from Jakobs to Nunes. Returns it to Bernardo Silva. Back into Nunes, who wants to try and get forward if he can. Reinders. Bernardo Silva just keeping the ball ticking here. Manchester City with 2.5 to play. Gonzalez springing forward with the ball. Being forced to go back after the press from Torreira. Foden picking up a pocket of space in the middle of the pitch and then driving forward. And he's not going to be stopped until he's tripped on the edge of the box by Sanchez. Referee doesn't give anything. Aït-Nouri has it still on this near side for City. Plays it inside to Bernardo Silva. He tried to go across to Nico Gonzalez, but the referee was in the way. Puts his arm up to apologise. So it'll be a drop ball here for Manchester City. Aït-Nouri. Foden. Gonzalez. A triangle, which is brilliant. Gonzalez back through for Aït-Nouri. Tried to square it. Should have gone on his own. And Galatasaray can work the ball away. Needed to be more selfish there, Aït-Nouri, to try and score his first ever Manchester City goal. Jacobs. Aymala. Akgun. Osimhen into Jacobs, who's in the left wing position in the final third. He has been trapped by Nunes. Osimhen stayed in the left wing position himself. Has the ball, trying to force it backwards, but it's cut out by Bernardo Silva, throwing for Manchester City. His Aït-Nouri is down. Think with cramp. Should have scored there. Aït-Nouri timed his run well. Gonzalez with a time pass. Tried to square it towards Reinders, but probably should have gone on his own as just struggling with cramp here. Aït-Nouri. Looks like it's going to be okay to continue. Helped up by the referee and Phil Foden. 30 seconds left. Still 2-0 to Manchester City. 2 goals in the first half. One from Haaland in the 11th minute and one from Cherki in the 29th. Throw-in taken for Galatasaray to Davinson Sanchez, about 30 yards out. He's not been closed down, so he'll shoot straight down the throat of Gianluigi Donnarumma. Comfortable save, but just one that you need to be careful you don't let go. Made sure he collected that and kept it tight to his chest as Reinders gets the touch away from Sanchez and drives away deep into the Galatasaray half. Still with Reinders being chased down by Lamina. Can he get the shots off? No, he can't. Overruns it, just could not get into a position to shoot in the end. Full of energy, full of running to Gianni Reinders. But that time just could not get the shot away. He has scored 5 goals in the Premier League, 3 in his last 7. But still not scored in the Champions League for Manchester City. Did score 3 times in the Champions League for AC Milan during his time in Italy. It's Akgun. Goes down in the area, being tracked by Foden. I think it'll be a goal kick. Let's have a look. Foden getting across. Akgun with the touch. Yeah, going over. Yeah, looking for a penalty. He was never going to get it. Probably will be a goal kick for Manchester City. 6 added on. We did have a pretty big stoppage for the head collision with Davinson Sanchez and Tijani Reinders. As for Galatasaray, it does look like it will be playoffs for them, which is fantastic because they've not reached the Champions League knockout since 2014 when they were knocked out by Chelsea. So brilliant achievement for Galatasaray, who have just been completely lacklustre in European competition in the last decade or so. So it's not gone their way tonight, but they have found themselves into the playoffs. And Manchester City at the moment are in the top 8, avoiding the playoffs and going straight into the last 16. As we've already played 2 minutes of the 6 added on. Long ball from Foden, headed on by Haaland. Can't quite find the run off the ball from Tijani Reinders. And it's now Yunus Akgun to Torreira. Keeps it away from Reinders. Out to this right-hand side now with the number 23, Kaan Ayhan. Torreira, bit of possession now for Galatasaray. Manchester City just happy to sit in and see the game through. Sanchez. Back out wide right to Ayhan. Shalai. Akgun. Torreira to Akgun once more. There is space on the right. He'll decide to put a cross in himself towards Osimhen. He goes for the overhead kick. And it's just not quite far enough away from Donnarumma to really trouble the Italian. Got down easy to his left to make the save. Well offside anyway. The Nigerian would have been disallowed for Victor Osimhen, whose record for Galatasaray, including tonight, will be 50 goals in 60 appearances. Not bad going at all for Victor Osimhen, but in his first ever game against Manchester City, it's just not gone his way. Nothing really broke for him throughout. Sanchez has been forced to go back to the goalkeeper of Czechos. Up towards Osimhen. Bit of a wayward header from Kusanov. Torreira. 2.5 minutes left to play of added on time. Torreira is dispossessed from behind by Bernardo Silva. O'Reilly Tried to go back forward. He's been pressured by Torreira. Eventually gets it to Bernardo Silva. Then inside to O'Reilly. Then tackled and the ball goes away from him. And it'll go all the way through to the back line for Galatasaray as they try and get a consolation. Probably that's all it'd be at this point in the game. Manchester City would just be conceding the 9 goals this Champions League campaign so far if they keep the clean sheet hit. Be their 3rd clean sheet of the campaign. Picked up one against Napoli and also one against Villarreal away as the direct cross from Atgun is nowhere near Osimhen at the far post despite applauding it. It's not going to change the cross to go onto his head. In behind it goes. It looks like Pep's being shown the league phase table from one of the Manchester City staff just to see if his team are going to make the top 8. Sporting Lisbon have took the lead. That knocks out Real Madrid. And that puts Manchester City in 8th. So if Real Madrid get the equaliser, they would go above Manchester City and go into 8th and City go into 9th. That's the only result now that can turn this around. It is all on the Real Madrid result as Haaland's on the right side of the box. Can he get the shot off? Tries to poke it through for Foden. Cleared away, intercepted. Gonzalez tries to win it back, but he's outmuscled by Lamina. 45 seconds left to go. Lamina. A few nibbles at his ankles by Gonzalez, and that's a free kick, and it's Galatasaray's ball. That Sporting Lisbon goal is massive. That puts them into 7th position as they have just took the lead away at Atletico Bilbao. What a massive goal that is. Alisson Santos with it. All eyes now on the Benfica Real Madrid result, and they are only just entering the 90th minute. It's going to go down to the wire for Manchester City, and it was so unnecessary with that defeat to Bodo Glimt last week. As the referee blows for full time here at the Etihad, it finishes Manchester City 2, Galatasaray 0. 2 first half goals have been enough for the Blues to do their job for tonight. But now it's all on Benfica and Real Madrid. I can't find coverage for that game because it's on Discovery Plus, so I will not be able to have a watch of this. Oh no, I can. It's on TNT Sports 8. We'll switch over to the Real Madrid game and see if they can get themselves a goal which would put them into the top 8. It's the only game now that can stop Manchester City qualifying. Surely Pep Guardiola has now learnt his lesson in this league phase. That you just cannot take any game easy. Got to get the points on the board first, then start rotating. Because they completely messed it up last season and got into the playoffs and then got knocked out by Real Madrid. And this season they are, by the skin of their teeth, qualifying into the top 8 if Real Madrid fail to equalise here against Benfica. For Alvaro Arbeloa, this would just make his reign at Real Madrid just go from bad to worse. Don't think he'll be sticking around for much longer, I'm not going to lie. Alvaro Arbeloa is completely out of his depths, I think, in this Real Madrid job. As Benfica can't quite keep the ball in play. And it is a goal kick for Real Madrid. They've got 5 minutes added on, and they've played a minute of it already. Alaba going across to Asensio. It's Valverde with Camavinga. So every other game now has been played that affects Manchester City. Bodo Glimt are just about staying in the top 8 themselves. If Atletico Madrid equalise, that would put Benfica up into the playoff positions. They're currently in 25th, 1 position out. They could have done with Atletico Madrid doing them a favour, but they haven't. Simeone's men trailing to Bodo Glimt. They've played the 7 minutes added on that has been indicated. Atletico will finish in 14th themselves. Looks like it's just going to be too little too late for Benfica in the Champions League, because they've had some very poor results in their run. As in the Real Madrid game, Raul Asensio, the centre-back's been sent off for a second yellow card. So they're down to 10 players when they need a goal. But for Benfica, they've lost to Juventus away, which you can forgive. That's not a poor result. But losing at home to Leverkusen, losing away to Newcastle, losing away to Chelsea, and the worst one was the home defeat to Karabag. So certainly could have gone better. Oh my word, no, Bodo Glimt have won against Atletico. What a result that is. Bodo Glimt have won their first 2 Champions League games in their history, which have been at home to Manchester City and away to Atletico Madrid. And that has got them into the league phase, the knockout playoff phase of the Champions League. That is outstanding stuff. What a result. And it does mean there is nothing Benfica can now do, I don't think. They'd need to score 2 more goals, because Marseille's goal difference is better by 1. But Marseille have scored more goals, so even if it was to get level on goal difference. Oh no, the goal difference is the same. I think Benfica need a goal. Yeah, their goal difference, Marseille and Benfica, their goal difference is both 3, -3. So if Benfica are to get another goal, that would put them into 24th, I believe. I don't know if the players know that, because they've got just over a minute to play. This would be a very historic win against Real Madrid, but they need another goal due to that shock win through Bodo Glimt. Long ball forward by Courtois, header away by Otamendi. Camavinga to recycle to Alaba. Got less than a minute. Manchester City fans looking through both of their hands, through the gaps in between their fingers, as Real Madrid have won a free kick about 30 yards out on the left-hand side. Too far and too wide for a shot, but there's a chance to get it in the box. Manchester City just clinging on to 8th at the moment, after Sporting Lisbon won late in Bilbao. Rodrigo delivering the ball in, header away, drops to Camavinga on the edge, tries to put it back in. Mbappe flicks out wide left to Rodrigo, towards the byline, chops inside, onto his right foot, across it goes, and it's glanced away. We've played the 5 minutes, kept in by Brahim Diaz on the far side, played back to Valverde. Low ball goes in, touch to Diaz, is he offside? Flag has stayed down. Camavinga dinking it in behind, it's well over hit, straight to the Benfica goalkeeper. And that might be time up for Real Madrid, and once again, the most successful club in the competition are going to have to go through the playoffs in back-to-back years. Mbappe had the ball in the net, not sure why. I don't know if Benfica know they need a goal. The goalkeeper's gone to kick it out of his hands, and Mbappe's took it off him as he's gone to swing and put it in the back of the net. As Rodrigo goes in the book. Oh no, Rodrigo's already been yellow carded. Rodrigo's been sent off. Oh, what a nightmare. Oh no, Real Madrid. Oh, no sympathy at all. Rodrigo's having a go at the referee, I'm guessing, for the amount of time Benfica are taking, I think. So that's Real Madrid's second player sent off. So if they go to the last 16 straight away in the top 8, or they have to go through the playoffs, they'll be without Raul Asensio and Rodrigo. But it's just weird that Benfica aren't throwing the kitchen sink at this. They need a goal. They need a goal as much as Real Madrid do. Long ball forward. Header away by Alaba. Is there a foul? Oh, there is a foul. Bellingham commits the foul. Bellingham can't believe it. It's one more chance for Benfica to get this ball into the box. chaos at the end of this game. Yeah, he's just got to cross him without winning the ball there, Jude Bellingham. Ball goes in, header from the goalkeeper, and Benfica are qualifying for the playoffs. What a moment that is! Trubin from his own net into the opposition net with the header. What a goal that is! Benfica needed a goal to qualify, and they've got it. They've replaced Roberto De Zerbi's Marseille, who lost tonight at Club Brugge. The drama of this league phase is absolutely incredible. With the last touch of their league phase campaign, the goalkeeper, Trubin, has headed the free kick home to put them into the top 24. That is incredible scenes. What a header that is. Bullet. Bottom left corner. That is how you qualify. Jose Mourinho, classic, against his former club. Anatoly Trubin, the goalkeeper, scoring the header against Real Madrid. The scenes, the absolute scenes. So that means the game is over. It was the last touch of the game. That means Real Madrid will finish in 9th position. 1 position away from the top 8. Manchester City qualify automatically for the last 16. And Benfica, with the last touch from their goalkeeper, have just about slipped themselves into the top 24. They are 24th in the league phase table, replacing Marseille. And that is one club I definitely don't have any sympathy for. Marseille miss out completely. They're out of the Champions League. Benfica through. And then for Real Madrid, they have to go through the playoffs once more. They cannot leapfrog Manchester City, who finally get their own top 8 finish. Chance to breathe. What a night of Champions League football it always is when all 18 games get played on the same night at the same time to finish the league phase. It's always full of drama and no change at all tonight. As I hope you have enjoyed the live stream, make sure you like and subscribe if you have not already. We've got one more commentary coming up next week. That's Saturday, 12:30. AFC Wimbledon host Bolton in League One. That'll be the game we are covering at the weekend. Make sure you're there for that. As at the Etihad Stadium, Manchester City did their job, winning by 2-0. A goal from Erling Haaland to keep his average goal per game ratio in the Champions League at 1 goal per game. And the lead was doubled at the half-an-hour mark. Ryan Cherky, assisted by Doku, just like Haaland was, finishing into the bottom left corner. They were relying on other results. And for Manchester City, they've gone their way. Benfica doing them a huge favour, beating Real Madrid by 4-2, which means finally, after last season's failure, Manchester City finish in the top 8. They're straight through to the last 16. And can they try and win their second ever Champions League title after their first back in 2023? But here at the Etihad Stadium, it finishes Manchester City 2, Galatasaray 0.